breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSIN Family Podcast, and we've got an excellent podcast for you. Joining me in segment number 2, the newest member of VSIN, Matt Williams. He does a tremendous job taking a look at so many things in terms of NBA, MLB, NFL. He is the originator of Volume Builds Character as well. He is going to be joining me in segment number 2. We're going to be talking about some of the bets and some of the props that have been profitable for him the first 2 weeks of the season, what he's been diving in on that front. We'll take a look at a few games for Thursday as well, and then in the final segment, going to give you guys picks and analysis on all 7 games on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of 2 ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at JNet_D1. Keep in mind, letters EM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline, and the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, but we had a fun day of baseball on Wednesday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
Unfortunately for myself, my DK Network right pick did not come through. I had the Yankees laying a run and a half on the run line, and go figure, the Miami Marlins, who had covered 2 run lines all season long, they get their second straight up win of the season. 5-2 the final as Aaron Judge came up 3 times with men in scoring position and went 0 for 3. Not ideal, to say the least, as Ryan Weathers, he does weathers the storm. 3 walks, 3 hits allowed in 5 innings, but no runs. You did have Brian Hoying give up a home run as Giancarlo Stanton gets his 4th home run in the campaign. From there, you did see a run surrendered by Anthony Bender in a third of an inning as well, but Andrew Nardi, a scoreless inning. Tanner Scott, 1 2/3 innings, scoreless as well for the New York Yankees. Not a good start here for Marcus Stroman. Gives up 4 runs over the course of 5 innings, including a home run to Jake Berger on his birthday. The Berger birthday boy was able to get home run number 3 of the campaign. From there, the Yankees bullpen was relatively solid. Dennis Santana gives up a run in an inning, but Luke Weaver, 2 scoreless innings. Victor Gonzalez, scoreless innings. So the Yankees, who had entered in 10-2, and the Miami Marlins, who had entered in 1-11, play a little bit of a harebrained game, and that's baseball for you, kids. And this is also baseball. Watching the Milwaukee Brewers all of a sudden go ballistic with regards to their offense. How about them putting up a 7-2 win over the Reds? They have now scored 7+ runs in 4 straight games for the Brewers. Pair of home runs in this one as you get home run number 1 of the season for Blake Perkins, who's all of a sudden hitting 400, and Christian Yelich, he looks to be in MVP form. Home run number 5 of the campaign. Hunter Green gives up both of those bombs and got destroyed. 7 runs, 6 of which earned in his 6 innings. Meanwhile, Buck Farmer comes in for a scoreless inning, and the former Brewer, Brent Suter, he comes in for 2 scoreless as well. And then Ellie De La Cruz, he was able to go deep for home run number 3 of the campaign, as this was not a long start for Wade Miley, just 52 pitches, gives up just 1 run over the course of 4 innings, and then from there, Bryce Wilson pretty much piggybacked off of him, giving up that home run to De La Cruz in 3 innings. Obi Milner, JB Bukakis from there, they were both able to end a scoreless inning. Not often that you see a game go to extra innings and a team lose by 5 in extra innings, but we had that on Wednesday. The Toronto Blue Jays fall to the Seattle Mariners 6-1 the final, as for Cal Raleigh, big dumper, he was able to have a home run in this one, number 2 of the campaign. As for Toronto, they squander what was a really nice start from Yusei Kikuchi. 9 strikeouts, 1 run allowed over the course of 6 innings. From there, Nate Pearson, a scoreless inning. Yimi Garcia provides 2 scoreless innings, and then things turned into a calamity from there, as you saw Tim Mesa give up 4 runs, 3 of which were earned, including that home run in a third of an inning, and Mitch White comes in from there, gets a pair of outs out of the bullpen, allows an earned run, and lone form of offense for Toronto, Vlad Guerrero Jr., solo home run off of Logan Gilbert. That's number 3 of the campaign, as Gilbert was really good. 7 2/3 innings, allows just 1 run along the way. From there, Andres Munoz, 1 1/3 inning scoreless, and Ryan Stanek is able to hold down the fort. He's able to supply a scoreless inning as well. As for the Toronto Blue Jays, they go in this game a nice hearty 0-6 with men in scoring position, and this team has been very good to the under. Right now, your top under team is actually the New York Yankees, 9 unders, 3 unders, and a push. Next best team to the under, Minnesota Twins, they take down the LA Dodgers by a count of 3-2, as we did see quite a few dogs barking on Wednesday, by the way, but for Bobby Miller, wasn't long for this game. Didn't necessarily get destroyed, gives up 2 runs in 4 innings, including a home run, but just didn't lend a lot of length, as going deep off of him, Edouard Julien for home run number 2 of the campaign. Then he goes deep off of Alex Vesia for his 3rd home run season, as Vesia gives up a home run in 2/3 of an inning. Michael Grove from there looked really good in relief. 4 punch-outs, 2 1/3 inning scoreless. Joe Kelly a scoreless inning, but the LA Dodgers couldn't get a lot going on offense themselves. Chris Paddock gives up a home run to Max Muncy, 2nd home run season for Paddock. Gives up 2 runs in 4 2/3 innings, but this Twins bullpen has been rock solid thus far. You had Brock and Roll Stewart, Steven Okirk, Griffin Jacks. I'll give you a scoreless inning, and then Ode Alcala, Cody Funderburk. They provide a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless as well. You saw the Washington Nationals after they've had some triumphs earlier in the series against the San Francisco Giants. Well, have anything but that with Patrick Corbin on the mound. 7-1 the final for Patrick Corbin. He's actually been profitable for you if you have bet on his starts since the beginning of the 2023 season, but it's not necessarily due to his great pitching. It's typically he gets lucky with the Washington Nationals popping out for a bunch of runs, and well, he gave up quite a few here. 7 runs surrendered in 5 2/3 innings. Derek Law, 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Tanner Rainey, a scoreless inning, and you did have Joey Gallo go deep off Jordan Hicks, his 3rd home run season, and for Hicks, he's looked really good as a starter thus far. 1 run surrendered over the course of 6 innings, and for Jordan Hicks, he's made 3 starts, and he's given up 2 earned runs, 3 runs in total. He had Eric Miller provided scoreless inning along with Landon Ropp and Ryan Walker. They were able to all supply a scoreless inning to be able to get the job done out there. Also being able to get the job done, the Tampa Bay Rays, 4-2. They were able to take down the LA Angels, as it was Jose Soriano, who has been a reliever throughout his career at the big league level, getting the start, went 4 innings, gave up 4 runs, so not ideal here. He did allow a home run to Jose Caldebreo, his 1st home run campaign. From there, the bullpen was actually really good. Matt Moore, 2 scoreless innings. Luis Garcia, Adam Simber, Carlos Estevez all supply scoreless inning, and Joe Adell does indeed set fire to the rain. 1st home run of the season. That one comes off of Kevin Kelly, who allows a home run in 1 2/3 innings for Zach Little. He only gives up 1 run in 4 1/3 innings, but allowed a lot of traffic. 3 walks, 6 hits in that time span for the LA Angels. They just couldn't do anything with it. They stranded 9 men on base, go 1 of 9 with men in scoring position, and then Jason Adam, Phil Maton, Pete Fairbanks, they're all able to supply a scoreless inning for the Rays to be able to get back online. And for the San Diego Padres, it's been an up and down start to the season for them, but they had a big time up on Wednesday. They take down the Chicago Cubs by a count of 10-2, as Dylan Cease against his old city. He hits the pitch for the White Sox. He gives up 2 unearned runs over the course of 6 innings, hurt by a Ha-Sung Kim fielding error, as you had the Cubs get a home run off the bat of Michael Busch, 2nd home run in the campaign, and that's about all they got as Professor Kyle Hendricks. He's getting schooled right now. 12.08 ERA for the season, 7 runs surrendered in 5 innings, including a pair of home runs. Erickson Profar and Jake Cronenworth both get home runs number 2 of the season. From there, you had Jose Quas come in for an inning, giving up a run, and Daniel Palencia, he gives up 2 runs over the course of 2 innings for the Padres. Bullpen holds down the fort as Yuki Matsui, Anya de los Santos, and Wandy Peralta are able to supply a scoreless inning. And has been very interesting to watch this Cubs team with their overs, 8 overs to 4 unders thus far this season. Right now, your top over team is the Atlanta Braves, but they got washed out against the New York Metropolitans yesterday, so we shall see them in action today. And we have seen the Cleveland Guardians actually play quite a few overs thus far as well, which they're not too much of a home run team, but they are a team that moves the line. And after they got down early against the Chicago White Sox, they found a way to be able to get the job done. This by a count of 7-6, as they got down 5-0 very early on. But for the Chicago White Sox, the bullpen is not so great. And Eric Fetty, he was getting whopped late in this one. 5 runs, 4 of which were earned, give it up in 5 innings, including a trio of home runs. Josh and Bo Naylor, the brother act, get in on it. Bo his 2nd home run season, Josh Naylor his 3rd. Stephen Kwan gets his 2nd home run of the campaign. From there, you had Tanner Banks, Dominic Leon, along with Devi Garcia, all on the scoreless setting, along with Steven Wilson as well. But then Brian Shaw gives up 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in the 10th inning to blow the game. And Gavin Sheets, 2nd home run of the campaign, that comes off of one Mr. Tanner Bybee. For Bybee, he gives up 5 runs over the course of 4 1/3 innings, but his Guardians bullpen right now leads the league in ERA, and they were tremendous in this one. Cade Smith, Tim Aaron, Tyler Beatty, Emmanuel Clase, Eli Morgan all lend a scoreless inning, and Nick Sandlin, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. So Cleveland Guardians find a way to get the job done, and for the White Sox, they're able to cover the run line in this one, but they have now started the season 2-10, so that has been very much less than savory for them. The Oakland A's had covered 7 out of their last 8 run lines, not to be on Wednesday though. 6-2, the Texas Rangers are able to get the job job done as Ross Stripling gets destroyed. 6 runs surrendered in 6 innings, allowed 11 hits along the way. TJ McFarland, Danny Jimenez, they both on a scoreless inning, and Zach Geloff was able to get home run number 2 of the campaign. That comes off of Yuri Rodriguez, who gives up that home run in his inning of work, but another good start for Cody Bradford, who was quite unlucky last season. Right now posting up a $1.40 ERA through 3 starts, 6 2/3 innings, allows an unearned run as he was hurt by a Josh Smith throwing error, but you did have Jordan Latz provide a scoreless inning. David Robertson, he gets an out of the bullpen, and for the Texas Rangers, very good start for them. They're off to a 7-5 start, so do like to see that. And the blown lead of the night goes to the Boston Red Sox. They were up 5-0 against the Baltimore Orioles, and then they make like your buddy at the bar cannot close. 7-5, the Orioles are able to get the win as Jordan Westberg was able to go deep for a 3-run shot off of Chris Martin. That was his second home run of the campaign. As for Boston, you got to feel for Cutter Crawford. You'd like to see a little bit more length here as he walked 4, but 5 scoreless innings. And then from there, Isaiah Campbell gives up 3 runs in an inning. You had Martin give up that home run, 4 runs, 3 of which were earned, given up in his inning of work before Brendan Bernardino comes in, allows nothing in his 2 innings of work, and Tristan Casas, he was able to get a home run off of Cole Irvin. Second home run season as Irvin allows all 5 runs in this one, 5 runs given up in 5 innings before the bullpen holds it down. Craig Kimbrell got a little bit dicey, but scoreless inning out of him. Keegan Aiken, 2 scoreless innings, and Mike Bauman was able to provide a scoreless inning as well. So the Orioles, they are able to get the job done, and for the Boston Red Sox, still above 500, but I have to wonder how much of that start was due to a little bit of a, shall we say, favorable schedule to begin the season, and it was very favorable to you if you bet on the Philadelphia Phillies on the money line on Wednesday as well. They take down the St. Louis Cardinals by a count of 4-3. As for Lance Lynn, honestly not a bad start here. He does walk 4, but he gives up just 1 hit, 2 unearned runs over the course of 5 innings, and then Andre Palante, he gives up 2 runs without getting an out of the bullpen. Zach Thompson has to come in long relief, 3 1/3 inning scoreless before Andrew Kittredge gets a pair of outs out of the bullpen. And for St. Louis, they did have a pair of home runs as you had Brendan Donovan be able to get home run number 2 of the season, and their catcher Ivan Herrera was able to go deep for his 3rd home run of the campaign. Those both come off of Aaron Supernolo, who gives up 2 solo home runs over the course of 6 innings. You did have Gregory Soto get a little bit dicey, gave up a run in 2/3 of an inning, but Matt Strom, Jeff Hoffman both supply a scoreless inning, and Sir Anthony Dominguez, he's able to get an out of the bullpen as well. And in terms of the action that we did see on Wednesday, I was talking about it. The underdogs, they were certainly a barking, as you saw underdogs straight up on the money line go 6-7 with those plus prices. You were able to make some nice coin, and we did see the under go 8-5 yesterday, so you still have more overs than unders, but it's starting to iron out. 91 overs to 84 unders with quite a few pushes along the way. That's a 52% hit rate to the over. And if you're looking at favorites overall this season, I think at just 57.8%. 104-76 straight up, while road teams continue to be rock solid as well. 98-85 straight up. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we all got on Wednesday. Coming up next, let's take a look at the games for Thursday with Matt Williams, along with the props and the markets that have been treating him quite well to begin the season. That's up next right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Craig Peterson, now a part of the VSIN Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSIN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man. Matt Williams is doing absolutely excellent work. Taking a look at the game of baseball, some NBA, NFL, and so much more over at Volume Builds Character, and along with that, the newest member of VSIN, as he's going to be helping us out throughout the baseball season. Very good to have him on the team, as he's based out there in the northeast part of the country. You're able to follow him on Twitter at his name, Matt Williams, but you want to substitute out the L's. The L's instead are 2 7s. So Matt Williams with 7s replaced for the L's. And Matt, always great to have you aboard. Thank you.
Hey, Greg, thanks for having me. Ready to talk some baseball. So excited to have it back. I tried to go to a game last week. I bought tickets in advance because it looked like a week out. It was going to be nice, mid-60s and sunny. It was the Phillies in Cincinnati that day where it got moved from like 1 to 7 and then basically ended at midnight. So, yeah, I didn't luck out with the weather, but eventually I'll get to a game live this year.
Absolutely. And what have you been making out of the first few weeks of the season? Because there's been a lot of strange weather games that have been going on. And despite that, we have noticed quite a few overs. But over the last, we're going to call it 4-5 days, we have been noticing those unders starting to come through as well, as the weather has gotten just a tad bit worse.
It's been really weird. Usually hitters are ahead of hitters in the beginning of the year. There's always some people you'll love to fade, like your Tyler Andersons or your Marco Gonzalez. And, guys like that, they've actually been pitching really well so far. So it's been a slow start as far as some of the consistencies you'd hope for. But again, the season's just getting started. So you don't try not to read anything into too much. The data, as far as any advanced statistics, doesn't even normalize until a month and a half, sometimes even 2 months for some of the stats. Yeah, it's been good so far, but some weird up and down things. I guess the big thing besides the weather is just the injuries are constant. But, as far as betting goes, it's a daily thing, so that doesn't really impact us much because it does like season-long fantasy or something. But it's been somewhat of a roller coaster, but hopefully it'll normalize soon as it starts to warm up a bit.
Yep, hopefully things will normalize a little bit. We've been seeing some ups and downs for some of these teams, and I do want to ask you just how you've been gauging some of these lesser teams, as we did see the Miami Marlins get the job done on Wednesday, but they've been miserable. The Oakland A's have, quite frankly, actually been very good on the run line thus far this season, if you've been taking a look at that. But we got teams like the Colorado Rockies and company. How do you gauge those sorts of teams? Because I think that if you do it right, you're able to get some cheap prices. Meanwhile, if you've been doing things like fading the Oakland A's run line, it's been a rough start to the season.
Yeah, a lot of people like to go that direction. But if you did nothing but bet against the A's last year, as bad as they were, the run line, you'd still lose money because the odds dictate that, you cannot make up for your losses for the amount of wins you get. And that's just always a bad thing to do. As far as the lesser teams, I know you're a full game guy completely. I do love F5s like crazy just because I bet volume. So I like to cut down variance as much as possible, at least earlier in the year. I know who the pitchers are going to be. I know what the lineup's going to be for the first 5 innings. I go there. And that is actually a great spot to pick on some of these underdogs, especially if you have a decent pitcher on the mound. I bet the White Sox F5 with Eric Fetty on the mound. Didn't work out for them for the full game because they're an inferior team, but over 5 innings, you can try to give away a half a run. You can even win those bets in F5 run line with a tie. Yeah, those are good to look at for the underdogs. I hate playing much with the full game run line early in the year just because it's just so many weird things happen as far as you don't know if some of these offenses can get up to give you the kind of run support. You don't know if the bullpens will break down and give it away. I try to stay away from some of the full game run lines earlier in the year, especially with some of the lesser teams, but I do like taking advantage in some of the short game bets.
Yep, absolutely. And I do think that you just need to find what works out well for you. For me, taking a look at these bullpens, being able to take a look at just a full game works out. If you're having a lot of success on the first 5, absolutely continue to roll with it. As Matt Williams, who does tremendous work over here at VSIN, is joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And what have been some of the angles that you've been taking a look at this season? Because I know that you and I know that Frank Amarante, who does great work as well on this front, you guys do a lot of player props where you're taking a look at things like walks props. I know that you're someone that you're going to dive in on a few strikeout props, take a little bit of plus money in terms of the home run front. What have been some of the best for you thus far this season?
The most successful things the walk props and the strikeout props are always great. For both of those have been solid. The first 3 and first 5 team totals, attacking, starting, pitching, sometimes, especially earlier in the year, it hasn't warmed up yet. Books tend to put some of the team totals at a lower number. You can go for the whole game total, but I do like to target specific teams, especially in those first 5 or even first 3 innings, for example. Like I've been doing that with the Diamondbacks a lot or the Dodgers. If they're in there against a starting pitcher, you're going to do some damage against. Sometimes you can get some 1.5 numbers in on some pretty decent offenses and not pay a ton of juice. Maybe even for the Dodgers, Arizona, sometimes you can get a 1.5 in the first 3 for minus 120 or plus money. For the first 5, you can usually get around a 2.5. Those have been working out for me really well. A lot of different interesting props. Just started getting into the hitting props a little more. I always start the year betting a little lower units as far as the full menu of props I do because I feel more confident in the data as we go along. But the last couple of days, we've actually hit a few home run props. I don't advise anyone to bet full units on those. I love to pair them with either total bases or my favorite is HRR, hits, runs, RBIs. You can find that at MGM, ESPN, or DraftKings. You can get those a lot at 1.5, and that's hits, runs, and RBIs combined. And you can get those a lot of the time on 5, 6 hitters and high scoring teams where they can maybe plus money a lot of the times, or even star players. You can get them minus 110, minus 115 sometimes. And I'll pair that with a home run prop. Like today, we had Giancarlo Stanton Yesterday, he missed a home run by just like a hair. And of course, he had a great matchup again. And yeah, those are nice. We'll probably try to hit on them more and more as it heats up. But yeah, my main thing is F5s and pitcher props are fantastic.
Yep, they certainly are. And how do you take a look at the data to begin the season? Because you did just mention it. This can be one of the most difficult times of the year to be able to take a look at baseball because you don't want an end-all, be-all 12-game sample size or anything like that. The season is very fresh. Teams get hot, teams get cold. Most of these starting pitchers, they've only gotten 2 starts thus far, and that's just such a small sample size. If you look on a scale to utilize football, for example, like most starting pitchers, if they stay healthy, that's 32 starts for them. That's essentially 1 week of the NFL season. And if you watch 1 week in the NFL season and try to utilize that data, people will be calling you nuts. So how do you go about the data at this point of the year? Do you look a lot at what we saw in 2023, try to marry 2023, combine it with 2024, or just use a little bit of a different approach altogether?
Now, right now, 2023, especially for pitchers, is a lot better data than anything we have now, unless there's a tangible change. If someone is heightened velocity, if they've added a new pitch, if they change their mechanics, that's what I say about tangible change. If there is something they are doing that's different, that is making the results drastically different, then you have to take that into account. Then you look at what they're doing right now. You have to look at how the offense is doing. You can, rather than target pitchers that are doing well to start this year, it's better to attack offenses that are off to a poor start. Like Seattle was striking out like crazy. They got off the hump and then they're still striking out. So like attacking offenses is a lot better. You look at the data this year more and more. Like I said, the tangible change you want to kind of look at, it starts to weigh more and more this year. But right now, yeah, you're still looking at the second half of 2023 and 2023 as a whole as your base as far as how a pitcher goes. And then as far as who they're facing, you'll see like, who different teams, if they've added certain players, you look at splits and how they perform versus certain pitches and the arsenal of certain pitchers, how often they throw those pitches, stuff like that, which, that's a lot to get into. But yeah, most of the data of that, you're going off of last year still.
Yep, I agree with you there. And you don't want to completely ignore the 2024 data at this point, but if you're trying to base everything off of 2 starts worth of data, I don't think that that's the best way to go about it, as well as you can get some very favorable/unfavorable matchups this early on during the season, as Matt Williams, who does tremendous work over here at VSIN, is joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And when it does come to what we've all got on the board for Thursday, a little bit of a smaller card. You're always going to get that with a little bit of a travel day, but we do have some interesting circumstances, and I do want to dive in on this one with you. It's the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Boston Red Sox with Grayson Rodriguez going for Baltimore, Garrett Woodlock for Boston. This is right around about minus 115 that you're laying with Baltimore with a total between 8.5 and 9. How do you gauge a matchup like this where we saw Boston just completely upchuck the game yesterday, and a guy in Grayson Rodriguez is now who they have to go up against, who has been absolutely rolling since the back half of last season?
Yeah, I love this matchup, Grayson versus Garrett Whitlock. I mean, I love Whitlock. He's someone that I'll look to for under 1.5 walks. That'll be up probably tomorrow morning, juiced to high heaven. So you'll probably have to pair that with a high probability money line or something. But Grayson, love him right now. Opened at over 5.5 strikeouts for his prop. I'm definitely all over that. It opened at 136. I think it's probably north to 160 now. If you like to pay juice, I actually think that's okay, because I think this is going to move to 6.5 strikeouts instead of 5.5. So 5.5's nice. But as far as the game goes, yeah, when I first saw this, I thought it was a little low for Baltimore as far as the minus 115. I'd have them as a heavier favorite than that. This is a game where I'd actually be fine going full game because Baltimore has such a nice bullpen, and it's not like there's a distinct offensive advantage for either team. So going the full Orioles money line, I actually locked that in earlier when it was minus 110, which is beautiful. But for anyone betting, when they're hearing the show, it'll be more like 115, 120. That's fine too. If you want to cut out the bullpen, you can get very similar numbers for the F5 money line, but I think that you can go the entire game and Baltimore can take advantage of kind of a poor Red Sox pen. You can get the advantage there. So yeah, I like Rodriguez over 5.5 strikeouts, and I like the Orioles money line here.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I do like the way that Grayson Rodriguez is rolling in. Certain they could tick up a little bit more, but I would say that as long as this can say below 130, you've got a relatively good value there. And I know that you take a look at walks props quite a bit. How do you take a look at a guy that, he does offer a few more walks, and someone like a Hunter Brown, who he's off to a little bit of a rough start to the season, going up against Brady Singer, Andy Royals, and with the Royals, they're about plus 115 to plus 120 or so. And I do think that this is an interesting one just because with Hunter Brown, I'm just a little bit out on him. Really good stuff, but just didn't know how to control it. And I looked at Brady Singer last year as one of the most unlucky pitchers in all baseball.
Yeah, and Brady Singer's off to a great start. I mean, he's been kind of lights out. It was 14 strikeouts and 13 in the third. He allowed just 1 run on 5 hits, albeit that was to the White Sox and Twins. The Astros are not them. But the Astros, I don't think, should be as favored as they are, except I don't think this is a game I necessarily want to touch. When I first saw this, like Houston was like, I think it opened around minus 135-ish, something like that for the money line. I was like, all right, I'm going to try to see if I can grab the Royals here and give up a half a run in the first 5. But that was already like minus 135. I don't want to do that because I think this will be, still relatively close. Brady Singer's good. The Astros offense is still pretty dangerous. The only thing I find here that entices me, and none of the lines are out yet for it, I think possibly, I was talking about team totals, Kansas City's first 5 innings team total. There's a chance they give us 1.5. I'll auto take that. If it's 2.5, we'll see what the odds are. But if it's anything like around even money, I go there. But yeah, I'm hoping that maybe we get like a slightly juiced up 1.5. And because the Royals have posted the 12th best weighted runs created plus versus right-handed pitchers this season. Their narrative is there to take a shot on the Royals here for sure. But I think I'm going to stay away for the time being and maybe focus just on the Royals offense versus Hunter Brown. But yeah, I do agree with you. This is very interesting. I don't know how I'm going to land as far as what I officially do, but that's at least the way I'm leaning at the moment.
Absolutely. And then when it comes to just the rest of the slate for Thursdays or anything else that is catching your attention, because we do have 8 games on Thursday, which not great, not terrible for a travel day. Sometimes you'll get a few more, sometimes you'll get a few less, but anything that you're taking a look at on a little bit of a smaller slate for Thursday?
The Pirates and Phillies. You get Jared Jones versus Ranger Suarez. Everyone's all over Jared Jones. It was over 5.5 strikeouts earlier. It's already jumped over 6.5, which is like plus 125 or something. I'd be okay there going that. I may even do a little ladder with Jared Jones versus the Phillies. He's been off to like a great start. He's facing Ranger Suarez, who hasn't been overly fantastic. Pittsburgh isn't like tearing the cover off the ball, but they've started off hot. They've been very consistent. I think Jones can really do a number on the Phillies early as far as strikeouts. So this is another one with the first 5, giving up a half run, again, plus 0.5. That means you can actually win your bet if its game is tied after 5. So plus 0.5 in the first 5 for minus 120. I love that. I don't think I would probably go full game here because once Jones is out of the game, man, that Pittsburgh bullpen has been somewhat disappointing. I don't think we want to touch that necessarily, but the Pirates, I believe in Jared Jones, and I think that is maybe a potential spot to look at. And then the Brewers, too. Starting is Freddie Peralta versus Nick Martinez. You can get, again, first 5 innings is my thing. You can get the Brewers money line right now. It's somewhere around like minus 115. They have an obvious advantage on the pitching mound. The Reds lineup is very nice there, but you're talking about Nick Martinez versus Freddie Peralta. If you can give me a push, F5 money line, if it's tied, you get a push, and that's like a big deal as opposed to like a full game where you can't get that kind of thing. So if you can get the Brewers for like minus 115 or minus 120, minus 125, even for a money line, F5, I love that.
I do like that look as well. I'm going to be on the Milwaukee Brewers myself with Freddie Peralta at a pretty nice price, and a total between 8.5 and 9 out there in Cincinnati with Nick Martinez on the mound with the way that the Brewers have been hitting as well. Might not be the world's worst look as well, and something that is always a great look is getting you aboard, Matt. You're the newest member here at VSIN. You're doing a great job covering the great game of baseball. I know that on top of that, you're doing a nice job on the NBA front, getting set for football season as well. So love to get people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Sure, like you said, the newest member of the team of VSIN. You can find my MLB work I'm doing on the weekends right now. And on every Thursday afternoon, I'll be on the Smart Money podcast. And then you can find my work over at Substack, Matt Williams, MATTWI77 IAMS.substack.com. And then over on Twitter, I always post plays and betting advice over there as well. Again, MATTWI77 IAMS. Thank you for having me on, Greg. Always love talking baseball with you.
It is always great to be able to get Matt aboard. He's one of the best minds when it comes to taking a look at this great game of baseball. Every single time he joins this show, I feel like we get just a little bit smarter. So big thanks to Matt for joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Matt Williams, who does an amazing job taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins this show, feel like we get a little bit smarter as he takes a look at baseball from so many different angles and does so all so well. So big thanks to him for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays going to be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at Junit_D1. Very simple in terms of the order. Goes National League games first in time order and then the American League games in time order. If we did have interleague games, those would be at the bottom, but we do not, and I lied when we were talking with Matt. I said we had 8 games on the board. Unfortunately, we've only got 7 games on the board, but still, not a bad board, and let's dive in on a game that we were really supposed to get yesterday, but we're going to be getting today instead. 901, 902 on the betting board. The New York Mets, they hit the road. They're facing off against the Atlanta Braves. Alan Wyness is on the bump for the Braves, and Jose Quintana is on the bump for the Metropolitans. Pretty much the numbers that we had when this game was pulled off the board yesterday is what we're getting right now. The Braves are between minus 154 to minus 170 favorites. Plus 140 to plus 145. That number on the Metropolitans, 9.5 is the total. Juice is all over the place. Anywhere between minus 115 to even money is the over. Under is between minus 105 to a minus 120. And I'm going to be taking a look at the over. Did set my total at 9.8. Bullpens are going to have a chance to be able to adjust a little bit. They're going to be able to have a chance to be able to catch your breath after not having to play yesterday. But still, I do think that Jose Quintana is due in for a little bit of a rough year this year. He had a north of 4 ERA when he was on the road last season, and he very much is a pitch contact guy. Last season, he only got right around about 7.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. Did a nice job being able to keep the ball in the yard, but now he has to go up against a unit in the Atlanta Braves that they just absolutely pound the snot out of it, and for Jose Quintana, it's a very small sample size of 2 starts, but he's got 2.61 ERA and a fielding independent of 5.94, so that does have to have you concerned. The command has been a little bit off, and now you have to face off against an Atlanta Braves unit that 1 through 9. This team is absolutely locked and loaded. Marcell Ozuna has already been able to supply 5 home runs, and then Matt Olson, Austin Riley, Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris, they've all provided multiple home runs already this season, and every single one of those 5 guys are all hitting at least at 286. Like, you try to spot the weak link in this lineup. Perhaps Chadwick Trump, who's gotten 6 at-bats, he might be when he's out there, but even Jared Kelnick, when he's gotten his opportunities, has been able to provide north of a 500 on base. It's just absolutely incredible with this Braves lineup. Heck, Ronald Acuna Jr. is right now your biggest struggling piece, and he won the MVP last year. Meanwhile, for the New York Mets, it has been a struggle for this bunch, though Pete Alonso, even though he's not hitting for average, he has been able to supply 3 home runs thus far this season and has been one of the best players in all of baseball the last few seasons in home runs on the road. Right now, it's Brett Baty along with the likes of Francisco Alvarez who are carrying this lineup. They are all out of sorts. You've had DJ Turn It Up Stewart, Jeff McNeil, Francisco Lindor, all up below the Mendoza line of 200. But if you look at Lindor on Baseball Savant, in terms of expected batting average, he's gotten the most unlucky this year. His expected batting average is at 245. He's hitting at 0.89. I do think that's going to come around for him a little bit. I do think that there's going to be some positivity there, but I think for the Mets, they're just going to have a tough time with this one as the bullpen with guys like Adam Ottavino, Ode Lopez, and company, it's not great, it's not terrible. You've got Edwin Diaz, who's one of the best closers out there in all baseball, and for the Atlanta Braves, they've done a nice job of being able to cobble up some nice bullpen pieces. Pierce Johnson, since joining the team last season, has been one of the better relievers out there in all of baseball. He's been a little bit up and down this season, but like what he's able to provide for this team, it's been a little bit tough for the likes of Tether Maddox, Brazil Iglesias, but these are good relievers that I do think are going to be able to find it here, but I do think that for the Mets, they're going to get a little bit warmer with their offense, but I do think that Quintana is going to be giving it up, and then for Alan Wyness, he posted up a 5.29 ERA in his starts last season, and he did have a lot of starts against lesser competition, against the Mets twice, against Washington Nationals twice, but this guy does have some relatively good swing and miss stuff. I do think that moving forward, he is going to be a guy that is going to be trusted and looked upon for the Atlanta Braves. He's still a little bit young in terms of his baseball career, not young in terms of years at 28 years old, but at the minor league level, was getting about 9.5 strikeouts and 2.2 walks per 9 innings, even when he was at the big league level last year. Was not giving out a lot of walks, has some decent swing and miss stuff, so I do think that the Mets get to him a little bit, but I do think that in the end, the Atlanta Braves power their way to victory. I was willing to take up to a minus 105 on this run line. Right now, you're finding a plus price on it in a lot of places. It's right around about a plus 110, plus 115 or so, so going to be looking at the Braves laying run and have to go along with this total over. 903, 904 on the betting board. It is the Milwaukee Brewers. They designated thrower. They're facing off against the Cincinnati Reds. Yes, we are on to Cincinnati, and they're on to Nick Martinez getting the start for them. Freddie Peralta is on the bump for the Brew Crew, and the Brewers are between minus 120 to minus 125 favorites, and between plus 105 to plus 110 is that number on Cincinnati. 8.5 to 9 is the total on the 9. The under is minus 115 to minus 120. The over is any between even to minus 105 on the 8.5. Over is minus 115 to minus 120. Under is between even to minus 105. This is my total at 9.2. I'm going to be looking at the over. The Brewers all of a sudden are pounding the tar out of the ball. They were able to get 7+ runs in each of their last 4 games. I don't know how long lasting it's going to be, and I don't think that Nick Martinez is the world's worst pitcher, but at the same time, for Mr. Martinez, he's gotten tattooed quite a bit thus far this season. He has allowed 8 runs in his first 10 innings of the season. Not bad with regards to command, not necessarily tremendous, not going to give you a whole bunch of swings and misses, as we saw that in his time with the San Diego Padres. And then for Freddie Peralta, he's always had his struggles in the months of March/April, a north of 4 ERA throughout his career in the early goings, coming off of giving up 3 runs in 5 2/3 innings against the Seattle Mariners. But the swings and misses, they are certainly there. 15 strikeouts and 11 2/3 innings. Always has been a very good pitcher in terms of being able to get punch-outs. But for the Milwaukee Brewers, it is very much appearing that Christian Yelich is the Christian Yelich of old. 5 home runs already thus far this season with a 400 on base. And just take a look at this Brewers unit. Bryce Terang, Sal Frelick, Jackson Chourio, all these young guys are providing north of a 280 batting average in the case of Frelick and Terang, north of a 370 on base. William Adames has been a little bit up and down again this season. He just has never been the world's greatest in terms of being able to get on base. Rhys Hoskins is supplying some boom, not necessarily getting on base a ton, but already has a pair of home runs to his name, and they go up against the Cincinnati Reds team that was a little bit dry at the plate yesterday, but got Spencer Steers off to a really nice season. He and Ellie De La Cruz both have 3 home runs, both hitting above 300, and that is what you like to see. But the guys that you rely upon to get on base do need to pick it up. Will Benson, Christian Encarnacion Strand, Jonathan India, all in a 244 or lower. India actually does have a 392 on base, just has not necessarily been able to give you like tangible hits. It's been just finding a way on base for him, but I do think that that's going to be a key. And for the Reds, it's a okay bullpen. It's not amazing. It's not terrible. You can expect Martinez most likely to give you 5. And then you've got Fernando Cruz, who 2 seasons ago was amazing last year. It was a little bit rough for him. Lucas Sims is always the guy that I've liked in the bullpen. Justin Wilson, he should be able to give you some relatively solid innings moving forward, but he's off to a rough start. And then for the Milwaukee Brewers, this is one of the best bullpens in the big leagues, despite the fact that Evan Williams is currently not in the fold. Elvis Piero, Joe Payams, these are really good setup men. You've got Hobie Milner back in the fold. Love what Abner Uribe is able to provide as well. So I do think that the Brewers should be able to get out there and get the job done. And for the Brewers, they're a white-hot team and one of the best hitting environments in all of baseball. So I did set my total at 9.2. I like the over with the Brewers. Set them at a minus 126 on the money line. Don't want to go run line, but I'm willing to lay up to a minus 125 with the Brewers to go along with the over. 905, 906 on the betting board. The Philadelphia Phillies play the Pittsburgh Pirates. Jared Jones goes for the Buccos. Ranger Suarez is on the bump for the Phils. Phillies are between minus 140 to minus 140 favorites. Between plus 124 to plus 130 is your number on the Buccos. 9 is the total. Under is between minus 110 to a minus 125. And the over is any between minus 105, seeing as good as a minus 110. I'm seeing one straight 8.5 out there as well. Over is minus 120. The under is even. And I'm going to be taking a look at the under on 9, trying to get as good of juice as humanly possible, as I did set my total at an 8.8. I actually really like what I've seen out of Jared Jones this far this season. He was a solid swing and miss guy at the minor league level last season, but 13 strikeouts in his first 2 starts, actually leading qualifying starters in the National League in terms of strikeouts as of right now. Certainly, I think that that's going to fade to the abyss towards the back half of the season, but all in all, he's got a really good approach. He's going to give up some hard contact, but he's done a nice job in terms of command, which has been a little bit of an issue throughout his career, going up against someone in Ranger Suarez, who, if you looked at him from late May on, he had a few starts early on during the season because he started out the year on the injured list that were relatively rough, but from like May 30th on, from Memorial Day, he was able to post up a sub 350 ERA, had a few struggles at home, but he has come out of the gates relatively strong this far this season. 11 strikeouts in 11 innings, not known too much as a swing and miss guy, but command has been great. Just 1 walk in these first 2 starts. Now the key for the Phillies, they need the bats to get online. You had Bryce Harper get that 3 home run game about a week or so ago. Other than that, he's done a big giant nothing burger. Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, Harper, I just mentioned, Bryson Stott, all these guys are hitting a 220 or lower. Juan Rojas is very much out there for his glove and not necessarily for providing offense. Trey Turner is off to a relatively solid start, has yet to hit a home run, but is providing about a 360 on base. But Phillies are just not approaching things very well at the plate, and with the temperature and the overall weather that we're getting out there in the northeast part of the country, it's not hitting conditions right now. Don't tell that to the Pittsburgh Pirates, though, as right now you've got, I believe, 7 different guys with at least 11 hits. They have been absolutely just killing the ball right now. Brian Hayes, north of a 400 on base. You've been able to get some good production as well out of Brian Reynolds, about a 350 on base, pair of home runs for him. Oniel Cruz, he's hitting nearly a 300 with a pair of bombs as well. Now, you do need some of the guys at the bottom of the fold, like Henry Davis, to be able to step up. Andrew McCutchen is out there as a little bit more of a veteran presence, but he hasn't been able to hit very well. Rowdy Tellez has been able to give you a nice approach at the plate, right around about 385 on base, and I like both of these bullpens. For the Philadelphia Phillies, typically they do start out rough towards the beginning part of the season. I do think that they're going to round into form, and perhaps that series against the St. Louis Cardinals was able to help them out. Straight through Dominguez, Jose Alvarado, they've been in rough form thus far this season, but Junior Marte since the back half of last season has been a sneaky good reliever for the team. Matt Strom, he seems to be figuring it out as well. And for the Pittsburgh Pirates, they are dealing with an injury to Ryan Barucki, Baroldis Chapman, David Benar in the 8th and 9th inning. I do like them. Now, Benar had a little bit of a rough go of it a bit earlier in the week, but still, with having someone like a Hunter Stratton, with having Jose Hernandez in the bullpen, I do like the approach there, and I do think that this is going to be a little bit of a lower scoring game. Recognize that Rangers Suarez had an ERA that hovered right around 5 at home during the season last year, but I do think that things are going to be a little bit better here. Things are starting to warm up in Philadelphia, but that said, I do think that we are still going to see a little bit of a lower scoring game with Suarez doing a nice job being able to keep the ball in the yard and the raw stuff of Jaron Jones, but I do think that in the end, the Phillies, they figure it out a little bit more at the plate to be able to get the job done, set the Phillies at a minus 147. I'd like them on the money line, and some I told it at 8.8, so you're at a 9. Looking at the under, 907, 908 down the big board. The Detroit Tigers playoffs to the Minnesota Twins. Pablo Lopez goes for the Twins, and Tariq Skubal is on the bump for Detroit. And Detroit is a mid-sized favorite, anywhere between minus 119 to minus 130, between plus 110 to plus 115 is that number on the Twins. 7 is the total. Unders between minus 115 to a minus 125. Overs between minus 105 to a plus 105. I'm going to be taking a look at the over. Now, the question is, can we get this down to a 6.5 overnight? That would be very, very nice, and I'm seeing 1 or 2 6.5 pop up there. Typically, I am not one for laying like minus 120, minus 125 juice on totals. I would rather take like if I'm between two totals where I'm going to be taking a look at the over either way. Like in an 8.5/9 scenario, I would rather take the over of 9 at even money plus 105 rather than the 8.5 at like a minus 120. The exception is 6.5 to 7. Because when you go from a 6.5 to a 7, 3 to 3, so you just need both teams to score 3 runs, you win your bet. I think that that is just very, very key. When you get down that low, it is worth paying a little bit more on the juice. So that's it in terms of the side. I did set the Tigers at a minus 128 as well. So I'm going to be looking there with this bunch as Pablo Lopez, he's been one of the most unlucky pitchers in all of baseball the last 2 seasons, has gone out there and has pitched relatively well this year. 5 runs, 4 of which were earned in 12 2/3 innings. Fielding did not help him out in that game against the Cleveland Guardians, but he's been able to control the hard contact, got more than 10 strikeouts per 9 innings a season ago. And Tariq Skubal, they treated him with kids' gloves a little bit more last season, and he is coming off a rough start against the Oakland A's where he gave up 4 runs in 6 1/3 innings. But you take a look at what Tariq Skubal has been able to do when he's been pitching in the city of Detroit, and he has been very, very good to say the least. Last year had a sub 250 ERA when he was pitching in Detroit. As a matter of fact, you just take a look at his entire career. So this spans all the way from the beginning of his career in 2020 when he's been at home, 3.13 ERA compared to a 4.61 ERA away from home, giving up about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. Has always been about a 10 strikeouts per 9 inning guy, and both of these bullpens, they don't necessarily have flash, especially with Yohan Duran currently being out of the fold for the Minnesota Twins. But that said, the Tigers, they just have a bunch of guys that are reliable. Shelby Miller, Andrew Chafin, Alex Lang, Tyler Holton, Will Vest. These are all guys I expect to have a sub 3.5 ERA. And for the Twins, it's all about Brock and Roll Stewart being able to give you some good innings. They pick up Michael Tonkin, a nice long guy who was with the team for the beginning part of his career before being with Atlanta last season. Oriole Collett, Jay Jackson, Cody Funderburk, very deep, and both of these lineups having their issues. Now for the Minnesota Twins, 5 home runs in their last 2 games. Perhaps that wakes them up. Edouard Julien has 3 home runs, but Julien has also 6 total hits, so half of his hits have flown over the fence. You don't have a lot of guys other than Alex Kirilloff and Carlos Correa who have been able to do a solid job of being able to move line. Both of these guys hitting at 324, and then among other players that have at least 3 at-bats to their name, nobody else is hitting above a 237. That's a big, giant issue. Byron Buxton has been a little bit out of sorts, has yet to get a home run himself. You got the likes of Carlos Santana, Willie Castro, Ryan Jeffers, Matt Wallner, Max Kepler, all hitting a 125 or lower. Forget the Mendoza line of 200. under. They're well below that. Meanwhile, for the Detroit Tigers, Spencer Torkelson off to a rough start to the season, hitting just a 200, has yet to get one to go over the fence. So Riley Green has been able to give you 3 home runs, hasn't necessarily resulted in a great average at a 205, but he's supplying a little bit of power. Mark Canha, yes, he can give you about a 372 on base, pair of home runs as well, but they're in a little bit of rough form, other than Gio Urshela, who's been able to hit about a 387. But I do think that both of these teams are going to have their bats wake up. And again, I'm not asking for these teams to do a ton on offense. These are two teams that are very much based around their pitching, but I think that both teams can be able to reach 3 runs in the spot. So here at a 7, like I'm seeing mostly, we'll be willing to go over, being able to get right around like even money plus 105. Would like a 6.5 a little bit more though. And for the Tigers, willing to lay up to a minus 127 on that money line. 909, 910 on the betting board. The Kansas City Royals play us to the Houston Astros. Hunter Brown is on the bump for the Astros, and Brady Singer hopes to have the Astros singing the blues for the Royals. The Royals are an underdog, anywhere between plus 114 to plus 124, between minus 130 to minus 135. That number on Houston, 9 is the total. Under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. Circa is a straight 8.5 out there. The over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. Personally, the widely accepted number right now of 9, I would be taking a look at the under on, but I would rather have that 8.5 at minus 115 over as of right now, just looking at the board with Brady Singer. He was one of the more unlucky pitchers in all of baseball last season. I do think that he's going to be set up for some success this year. He had a fielding dependent that was about a half a point lower than his actual ERA, and for Singer, he has come out and he has been tremendous this season. A combined 13 and a third innings in his first 2 starts, has given up just 1 run. Now, those 2 starts came against the Chicago White Sox and the Minnesota Twins, so I'm going to take that with a little bit of a grain of salt, but he's been able to work on the walks the last few seasons. I like his approach, and for Hunter Brown, he's just in bad form right now. Now, I will say this about Hunter Brown. He actually pitched significantly worse at home last year rather than on the road. I have no idea how. I have no idea why, because the Houston Astros, they were just unable to hit at home last season, so they just had all sorts of problems when they were at home. But for Hunter Brown, he was able to post up an ERA about 2 points lower when he was away from home rather than when he was at home, and his command was a whole heck of a lot better. 6.56 home ERA, 3.80 ERA on the road. In terms of walks per 9 when he was away from home, about 2.3 walks per 9 innings. Meanwhile, at home, that ballooned up to north of 4. So I have no idea what to make out of that, but he is a relatively good swing and miss guy going up against a Kansas City Royals team that they are up and coming with regards to their lineup. Bobby Witt Jr. is off to a tremendous start to the season, but it's not just him. You've been able to have Salvador Perez, or on there, Michael Garcia, MJ Melendez, Nelson Velasquez, all be able to give you multiple home runs. Velasquez is a nice power hitter that's right now giving you nearly a 400 run base. Garcia has not necessarily moved the line a lot. He's been able to provide a lot of power, and then Salvador Perez hitting above a 300. I really like these guys, and if you could get Vinny Pasquantino going, who he missed the back half of the last season due to injury, looked very good prior to injury, that's going to be big for this team as well. And Yordan Alvarez, he's back online. He's been able to give this team 4 home runs north of a 4-arm base. Jose Altuve, 3 home runs north of a 4-arm base. These guys are rock solid, but Alex Bregman having once again a relatively slow start, no home runs. He's starting to get on base a little bit more, but it's been a rough start to the season for him, and it's been a top-heavy Astros team. The guys in the middle have been tremendous, but the likes of Jose Abreu, Chas McCormick, Jake Myers, Mauricio Dubon, John Singleton, these are all guys hitting below 220, not necessarily providing a lot of pop, and this Astros bullpen just is not the same as it was a few seasons ago. You've got Brian Abreu, who's relatively solid. You've got the 8th and 9th inning of Ryan Presley along Josh Hader, who I like both of these guys. Feels like both of these guys might be a little bit overrated, but whereas you had someone like a Ryan Stanek, Hector Neris in past years, now you're relying upon guys like Taylor Scott, and they threw a lot of money at Josh Hader, who I think he's going to be able to get online, but he hasn't been great thus far. Meanwhile, for the Kansas City Royals, this is a terrible bullpen. I wish I could put it any other way, but James McArthur is not trustworthy. Honestly, I like John Schreiber coming over from the Boston Red Sox, but Will Smith gets way too jiggy with it. Nick Anderson is washed up. You've got Chris Stratton, who's not necessarily too tremendous, but I do think that Brady Singer delivers a little bit of a better start than Hunter Brown. I set my total at an 8.9, which is why I was saying I would rather have the 8.5 over rather than the 9 under, because I do think that the Royals bullpen could very easily gas can this game, but I'm going to be willing to trust in them at a plus price. Anything of a plus 109 or higher, I like the Royals on the money line, and taking a look at the 8.5 that I'm seeing at circa over 911, 912 on the betting board. The Oakland AAAs hit the road face off against the Texas Rangers. 55 shades of John Gray is on the bump for Texas, and JP Sears is going for the A's, and the A's do find themselves as underdogs, and between plus 152, seeing as high as a plus 160. Meanwhile, for the old Texas Rangers, seeing as low as a minus 170, as high as a minus 180. Total on this game is 9.5, under is minus 115, the over is minus 105, and if you're looking at the run line in this ordeal to lay a run and a half with the Texas Rangers, you're only getting about plus 105 to plus 110, and I just need to be getting a little bit of a better price in general on this one. Now, I don't want to lay a minus 125 to take a run and a half with the Oakland A's. Personally, I'm just going to play the Texas Rangers at a minus 170 or less on the money line. I typically don't lay this sort of juice, but with the Oakland A's, they've honestly been able to do a good job of being able to cover the run line. 7-2 on the run line in their last 9 games. A lot of those were one-run losses. Now, they had a few straight-up wins along the way as well, so you run that risk, and for Jon Gray, he certainly has not been the world's greatest pitcher to begin the season. He gave up 5 runs against the Chicago Cubs, got his act together in that start against the Houston Astros, but only lasted 3 2/3 innings because he was walking the world. Now, I do like the Texas Rangers and what they're able to provide in the bullpen much more than a season ago before they were dealing with Chris Stratton, Will Smith, guys like that. They bring in the offseason Kirby Yates. They also bring in David Robertson. That really fortifies a bullpen that has a guy in Jacob Lapps who's relatively solid. Jose Leclerc had his issues towards the beginning part of the series, but I do like what they're able to provide, and there's no doubt about it. This Texas Rangers team is able to outslug the old Oakland AAAs, as you've got a Rangers team that has at the top of the fold a trio of guys that are probably going to provide 25 plus home runs this season. Adolis Garcia, Marcus Semien, Corey Seager. For Garcia, he's providing nearly a 300 batting average. Semien and Seager both north of a 400 in terms of their on base, and then the middle of the fold still relatively solid. Travis Jankowski has been very good at being able to get on base. Jared Walsh coming over from the Angels, about a 385 on base. He's got some nice pop in the bat. You do need to get Evan Carter a little bit more online, but all in all, this team has been very solid there. And for the Oakland A's, they've done an okay job of mixing and matching. Zach Aloff, JJ Bleday, they've got a little bit of upside. Shea Langoliers had a 3 home run game a little bit earlier in the season, and Abraham Toro is a guy that's just been passed around, was with the Astros, was with the Seattle Mariners. I've always believed he's had a little bit of upside, and for the A's, right now the shining part of this team, and the reason why they've had a lot of one-run losses, and I've been able to say in it, the bullpen is supplying a sub-250 ERA. Mason Miller, I believe, should still be a starter, but he's actually turned into a really nice 8th and 9th inning piece. Lucas Erceg has not been terrible in the bullpen. He actually began his career in the infield of the Milwaukee Brewers, has had a nice second stanza. Danny Jimenez is relatively solid as well, but JP Sears, he's given up nearly 1.9 home runs per 9 innings, and very strange with JP Sears. He pitches in a very pitcher-friendly ballpark out there in Oakland. His ERA was about a half a point lower when he was away from home rather than when he was at home. He got more swings and misses last year with about 8 punch-outs per 9 innings, but I do think that the Rangers are going to be able to get to him. I do think that this is going to be a high-scoring game with Jon Gray just not finding it right now. Semi-total 9.6. I do like the over, but with the Rangers at a minus 170 or less, I'm going to be trusting in the money line just because I don't want to lay a run and a half with the way that the Oakland A's have been performing thus far, and I really don't want to bet the A's money line as well in this sort of an ordeal. So looking at a chalkier money line and this total over, which once again do that very rarely, but we always have to be just looking for the profit where it is, and this will lead to the DK Network right pick to wrap things up. 9-13, 9-14 on the betting board. The Baltimore Orioles are on the road facing off against the Boston Red Sox. Garrett Whitlock is on the bump for the Sox. Grayson Rodriguez is on the bump for Baltimore. And Baltimore anywhere between a minus 107 to a minus 115 favorite, and we're between a plus 102 / plus 105, seeing as bad as minus 105 out there on Boston. 8.5 to 9 is the total on the 8.5. Over is minus 118. The under is minus 102 on the 9. The under is minus 120, and the over it is even. And I'm going to be taking a look at the under in this spot. Set my total at 8.6, but my right up here is on the Orioles. Would be willing to go up to a minus 133, and I would not doubt it if this goes off the opener of right around about minus 108 to minus 115 or so. So it's something to take a look at because the Boston Red Sox completely upchucked the game yesterday. They had to use up a whole bunch of bullpen pieces, and typically you'll see this team come in against a team that completely gas canned the game a day ago, and that's something to watch out for. Both of these teams entered into Wednesday with relatively similar bullpen ERAs, but this is the Boston Red Sox bullpen that is unreliable to say the least, having to use up Chris Martin, Isaiah Campbell for 16 plus pitches yesterday. That's less than ideal. Those are two of their better pieces. They've got Kenley Jansen still in the bullpen. Josh Winkowski is able to deliver a little bit of length, but you have to have your concerns with Garrett Whitlock going deep in this game. For Garrett Whitlock, he's put together 2 relatively nice starts in terms of not giving up runs. He's only given up 1 earned run in his first 2 starts, but he's only completed 9 1/3 innings as well. He is by trade a little bit more of a reliever, and You just take a look at what he's done coming out of the bullpen as compared to as a starter. It's night and day for his career. Woodlock, 4.41 ERA as a starter, 8.7 strikeouts, 1.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings. The bullpen, 10.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, 2.65 ERA with just 1 home run allowed per 9 innings. And Grayson Rodriguez is turning into a Cy Young candidate. He had a really rough go of it the first time he was called up from the minor league level, but ever since he got called up that second time around, last 14 starts, this dates back to July of 2023. 2.25 ERA with a fielding independent below 3, 0.6 home runs and 2.4 walks allowed per 9 innings. He faces off against the Red Sox lineup that was third in the American League in runs per game last season when they were at home, but Justin Turner, Adam Duvall, 2 of their top 4 home run hitters from a season ago are gone, and shock, surprise, Trevor Story's back on the injured list. Who could have seen that coming? But you've had a up and down Red Sox team, to say the least. Rafael Devers has not been great, to say the least, this season, hitting below the Mendoza line of 200 Masataka Yoshida. He doesn't provide a lot of power, and right now he's providing a 225 batting average. That's not necessarily too tremendous. And then the young guys, Emmanuel Valdez, Sadine, Rafael, they're not producing. Now, Jaron Duran has been good at moving the line, about a 375 on base, but they just don't have the same power that they had a season ago. Sans Tyler O'Neill, who's been amazing. 6 home runs for Tyler O'Neill. That is towards the top of the big leagues right now, but for the Orioles, they just have more balance in general. You got a lot of guys that I think are going to be resulting this season with about 20 to 25 home runs. Other than Anthony Santander, I don't think that a lot of guys are going to be breaking 25, though Ryan Mountcastle might have something to say about that. But Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Jordan Westberg, Ryan O'Hearn, these are all guys that do a nice job, be able to go yard for you. Cedric Mullins is off to a rough start to the season, 255 on base, but we saw him a few seasons ago be one of the most consistent hitters in all baseball. I think that he's going to be able to pick it up. Adley Rutschman is just really good at being able to move the line. And for the Baltimore Orioles, because they used Craig Kimbrell yesterday, that means that they're probably not going to go to him today. That's actually a nice added bonus. And I mean, that is worth like 5 to 10 cents to me, in my opinion. You don't have to deal with him because now you get Danny Colum, Yanir Cano, Dylan Tate, Jacob Webb. These are all trustworthy guys. Other than Tate, everyone supplied a sub-3.5 ERA last season, and Tate, when he was fully healthy 2 seasons ago, was as well. And then for the Boston Red Sox, they're a bullpen that they used up quite a few of their pieces yesterday, and I do have faith here in Grayson Rodriguez to be able to get the job done. So my DK Network right to pick, that's on the Orioles on the money line. Willing to lay up to a minus 133 there, and here at the 9, going to be looking at the under, and that'll wrap things up for the Thursday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, the Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of 2 ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter /X timeline at @JUnior_D1. Keep in mind, letters EM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review, coming at you guys every single day throughout the baseball season. That means I'm coming at you Wednesday tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in.